Good morning, students. Today we are starting capital asset pricing model given by William Sharpe. We have already done HM model, Harry Markowitz model. An extension of that model was capital market theory, where we did capital market line. Now, CAPM is further extension of capital market theory. This model was given by William Sharpe and some other authors, but the main author was William Sharpe. Right? Now, regarding Harry Markowitz model, the model explains how to select an optimum portfolio depending upon risk and return of the portfolio and your own risk return preferences. We did in Harry Markowitz model that using efficient frontier and indifference curves, you can select your optimum portfolio. The model is basically normative in nature. It shows how a rational investor can select optimum portfolio in given market conditions. Now, extension of capital market theory and portfolio theory, original portfolio theory given by Harry Markowitz is capital asset pricing model. The model explains how capital assets should be priced in an efficient market. In an efficient market, all the investors, they behave rationally. And when all the investors are behaving rationally, how pricing of the capital assets can be done, this is shown by capital asset pricing model. Now, the model is based on some assumptions. The assumptions are basically of efficient market and some other assumptions to make the things convenient. The model assumes that all the investors are risk-averse investors. They try to maximize utility of their portfolio. Now, their choices are totally based on risk and return assessments. They have identical single period planning horizon. So we are assuming that all the investors, they have planning horizon of 1 year. They have homogeneous expectations. That means their estimates of expected returns, risk, and covariances of returns, they are same. Any amount can be borrowed or lent at risk-free rate of interest. That means there is no problem of liquidity in the market. The quantity of risky securities in the market is given. Risky securities, that is market portfolio, it is defined and it is fixed for all the investors. And then market is efficient. CAPM assumes that market is perfect market. This is efficient market. There are no taxes, no transaction cost. Securities are perfectly divisible. Information is available to all at no cost, and market is competitive. That is large number of buyers and sellers, they are there. No one individual investor can impact the prices. With these assumptions, the entire model can be explained in 5 steps. The first step relates to segregation of risk into systematic and unsystematic risk. CAPM assumes that in an efficient or perfect market, unsystematic risk can be reduced to 0. That means only relevant risk in the security or portfolio is systematic risk. So in CAPM, we relate systematic risk to return. For measurement of systematic risk, for measuring quantum of systematic risk in the security or portfolio, we use beta factor. After calculation of beta factor, using mathematical CAPM equation, we can find fair price of the security. And this CAPM equation, it can be shown on a graph by use of security market line, right? One by one, we will be doing these steps. The first step is segregation of total risk into systematic and unsystematic risk. This we have done in the chapter risk and return. The total risk is equal to systematic risk plus unsystematic risk. Systematic risk is there on each and every security. This is caused by general factors and main sources of systematic risk. These are market risk, interest rate risk, and inflation risk. Because this is general risk, this is impacting each and every security. If I diversify my portfolio, I cannot reduce this kind of risk, right? So systematic risk, this is non-diversifiable risk. Regarding unsystematic risk, main sources of unsystematic risk, these are financial risk and business risk. If unsystematic risk is caused by external factors, then it cannot be controlled. But if this is caused by internal factors, this is controllable risk. So I can say unsystematic risk is controllable to some extent. This is specific to a particular firm or industry. So this is also called unique or specific risk. If I increase number of securities in my portfolio, unsystematic risk can be reduced. This can even be eliminated. So this risk is known as diversifiable risk. Now, we can show systematic and unsystematic risk with the help of this diagram. This we did in risk and return chapter also. If on x-axis I take level of diversification, on y expected risk, this line shows systematic risk. That means whatever is the level of diversification, systematic risk will be there. This rectangular hyperbola, this shows total risk, and difference between total and systematic, this indicates unsystematic risk. At level of diversification D1, this is systematic risk and this is unsystematic risk. If I increase level of diversification to D2, that means I am increasing number of securities in my portfolio, systematic risk will remain same, unsystematic risk will reduce. In the same way at D3, unsystematic risk will further reduce. So with increase in level of diversification, unsystematic risk can be reduced, systematic risk will be there in the security or portfolio. Now, as per Sharpe, in an efficient market or perfect market, unsystematic risk can be completely eliminated. It can be reduced to zero. That means only risk remaining in the portfolio or security is systematic risk. Your returns are to be related to systematic risk. Now, when an investor is bearing only systematic risk, he will be given risk premium only for bearing systematic risk. So in CAPM model, we relate return to systematic risk. Unsystematic risk can be reduced to zero. Only risk relevant in CAPM is systematic risk. So return of security or portfolio, this is related to systematic risk only. The investor is given risk premium only for bearing this risk. Now, systematic risk is there in each and every security. Can we say that quantum of systematic risk in each security is same? No. Because the factors which are impacting systematic risk, these factors may impact each and every security differently. Suppose we take example of budget or industrial policy of the government. It will be impacting different industries differently, and systematic risk will be different in different securities. So measurement of systematic risk, this is important. In third step, we measure systematic risk using beta factor, right? The only relevant risk in CAPM is systematic risk. All securities, they will be having different amount of systematic risk. The magnitude of influence of factors which constitute systematic risk, these vary from one security to another depending upon how sensitive a security is to the market fluctuations. So William Sharpe suggested that systematic risk on a security can be measured by using beta factor. Beta is actually nothing but responsiveness of a security's return to returns on market portfolio, right? So sensitivity of an asset's return to changes in the return on market portfolio, this is indicated by beta. Mathematically, beta can be calculated by dividing covariance between a security's returns and return on market portfolio by variance of market portfolio. This formula you can use for calculation of beta factor. covariance SM divided by variance on market portfolio. In portfolio risk and return we have done, covariance SM can be written like standard deviation of S into standard deviation of M and correlation between S and M. If we cut sigma M, so sigma S by sigma M into RSM. So if in the question covariance is given, then this formula for beta is to be used. If in the question correlation coefficient is given, then this formula of beta is to be used. Covariance SM is covariance between securities return and return on market portfolio. Sigma S is standard deviation of securities return. Sigma M standard deviation of market portfolios return. And RSM is correlation between securities return and market portfolios return. Beta is an indicator of systematic risk of a security. Regarding features of beta and what is the relationship between beta and expected return on a security, this we will be doing in second PPT on CAPM. Now, after calculation of beta, we can express CAPM equation mathematically. CAPM shows linear relationship between expected return on a security and systematic risk. Mathematically, it can be written like RS, return on a security, is equal to risk-free rate of return plus difference between return on market portfolio and risk-free rate multiplied by beta factor. Where beta we have already done, can be calculated using this formula. So in place of beta, you can write this value also. Here RS is expected return as per CAPM model. Keep this thing in mind, expected return as per CAPM model is also known as fair price of the security. That means what should be the price of the security. These are explanation of various abbreviations that we have used in the equation. Now we know IRF is nothing but price for time. Risk-free rate always indicate price for time. RM minus IRF, this is market price for risk. Excess of return on market portfolio over risk-free rate, this is nothing but market risk premium. Beta indicates quantity of systematic risk in the security. So fair price of the security is equal to price for time plus price for risk multiplied by quantity of systematic risk in the security. This is mathematical expression of CAPM model. Now this CAPM equation can be shown on a graph using security market line. Security market line again shows linear relationship between expected return and beta factor, which indicates systematic risk in the security. The line originates from risk-free rate. This is intercept of SML, and then this line is upward sloping line. Why this is upward sloping line? Because of risk-return trade-off, there is positive relationship between risk and expected return on the security. All fairly priced securities, they lie on security market line. Wherever expected or actual return on the security is equal to return as we calculate using CAPM equation, the asset is known as fairly priced asset. But if expected return on the security is more than fair price calculated under CAPM, the security is called underpriced security, and underpriced security, it lies above SML. If expected return on security is less than the CAPM return or fair price, this will be called overpriced security. Overpriced securities, they lie below SML. All fairly priced assets lie on SML. All overpriced assets lie below SML, and all underpriced assets lie above SML. We can see it through a graph. See, this is the graph for SML. On x-axis, we'll take beta factor. Beta indicates systematic risk on the security. This is expected return of the security as per CAPM. This is also known as fair price of the security. And here we can also indicate actual return of the security. So I am not using fair price, I am using RS here. The SML originates from risk-free rate, then it is upward sloping line, shows positive relationship between risk and return on the security. Wherever actual return on the security is equal to fair price, the security is fairly priced. All fairly priced securities are bound by SML, that means they lie on SML. If actual return on the security is more than fair price, this is underpriced assets. All underpriced assets, they lie above SML, and all overpriced assets where RS is less than fair price, they lie below SML, right? This is written here also. All fairly priced assets where expected return is equal to fair price, they lie on SML. Assets for which expected return is more than fair price are underpriced assets, they lie above SML. Assets for which expected return is less than fair price are overpriced assets. Overpriced securities lie below SML. Now, shape and position of SML, it may change with change in risk-free rate and market risk premium. Suppose risk-free rate, it decreases. Then slope of the line will not change. The line will shift downward, say somewhat here. So only shifting of line will be there with change in risk-free rate. But if market rate of return, it changes, then slope of SML will change. So while change in RF will lead to shift in SML, a change in market rate of return will change slope of SML. Very important question from this chapter is difference between capital market line and security market line. In capital market theory, we did capital market line. Capital market line shows relationship between total risk and return of the portfolio. While security market line, it shows relationship between systematic risk and return on a security, right? So in case of capital market line, we consider total risk. In security market line, we only consider systematic risk. So risk premium in case of capital market line, it relates to, it is given because of bearing total risk. While security market line, return or risk premium is given for bearing systematic risk. Capital market line consider total risk, security market line consider systematic risk, which we measure using beta factor. SML shows relationship between expected return and beta factor, while CML shows relationship between expected return and total risk. Intercept in both CML and SML is risk-free rate of interest, but slope of CML is reward to variability ratio, while slope of SML is market risk premium, that means difference of RM and IRR. On SML, you can show individual security as well as portfolio, but on CML, only portfolios are shown. All portfolios lying on CML are efficient portfolios. This we have done in capital market theory. And inefficient portfolios lie below or above CML, while in case of SML, we have just done all fairly priced securities lie on SML, overpriced securities lie below SML, and underpriced securities, they lie above SML. CML is used in capital market theory to find optimum portfolio for the investors, while SML is used in CAPM model for finding whether a security is fairly priced, overpriced, or underpriced. We can see the difference with graph also. See, this is graph for capital market line starting from IRF, upward sloping line. Efficient portfolios lie on CML, inefficient portfolios lie below CML. Above CML, a portfolio is unattainable portfolio, and unattainable portfolio is also considered to be inefficient. So efficient portfolios are only those portfolios which lie on CML. Here on x-axis, we have taken standard deviation of portfolio. On y-axis, expected return of the portfolio. That means we are considering total risk in CML. In SML, on x-axis, systematic risk is there, beta factor. On y-axis, expected return of the security. It can be expected return of the portfolio also. SML will also start from IRF, upward sloping. All fairly priced assets, they lie on SML, underpriced assets lie above SML, and overpriced assets, they lie below SML. In this way, you can distinguish between CML and SML. Now, a statement may come in examination. SML is a special case of CML. For that, we can check mathematical expression of both CML and SML. You can recall, for CML, we used this equation. Return on portfolio is equal to IRF plus RM minus IRF into standard deviation of the portfolio divided by standard deviation of market portfolio. For SML, the equation is return on security or portfolio is equal to risk-free rate plus RM minus IRF into standard deviation of the security divided by standard deviation of market into correlation between security and market returns, right? Now suppose correlation in security and market returns is +1. That means return on security are perfectly positively correlated with return on market portfolio. In this situation, both CML and SML will coincide. The equations will give same result, right? So if a securities returns are perfectly positively correlated with the return on market portfolio, that means RSM is equal to +1. The CML coincides with SML with same slope, sigma S divided by sigma M. So SML, you can say, is a special case of CML. Regarding CAPM model, like every model, this model also has some limitations. The main limitations, they relate to assumptions of CAPM. Assumptions of CAPM are unrealistic assumptions. In practical situation, these assumptions are not feasible assumptions, like no transaction cost, no taxes, perfectly divisible securities. These are not realistic assumptions. So this is one of the limitation, unrealistic assumptions. Then the entire model depends upon beta factor, and calculation of beta is very, very difficult thing. Beta shows systematic risk in the security. Systematic risk in the security changes every day. Within a day, factors may change, factor causing systematic risk, they may change, leading to change in beta factor. That is, fair price of a security may change multiple times even during particular day. So this is also one of the limitation of CAPM model. And then required rate of return as given by CAPM, this is only approximation of the fair price because it is based only on some selected factors. If we consider all the factors, the fair price may be different. These are limitations of CAPM model. This is regarding theory on CAPM model. We can do some numericals, simple numericals. Suppose in the question, this information is given to you regarding security A, risk-free rate 6%, return on market portfolio 17%, beta for security A is 0.7. Find expected return on security A. If there is another security, security B, which has expected return of 20%, find its beta. So with the given information, firstly calculate expected return on A. Use CAPM equation. Put all the values in CAPM equation. This is IRF, this is RM, that means return on market portfolio minus IRF into beta factor. Expected return on security is 13.7%. Regarding security B, expected return is given. You have to calculate beta factor. Again, using CAPM equation, you can find beta factor. This is a coefficient. So with this coefficient, percentage sign is not to be used. Like correlation coefficient, this is a specific value, not a percentage. We can do one more question. This information is given to you. Return on market portfolio 18%, risk-free rate of return 8%. Correlation in security and market returns is 0.7. Risk on market portfolio 2.5. Risk on security is 3%. Find securities beta factor and expected return. Is it a worthwhile investment if this security is offering actual return of 15%? Right? Now, using CAPM equation, you can find expected return, and using this formula, you can find beta factor. Beta, if covariance is given, can be calculated using this formula, but in the question correlation is given, so we will be using this formula. This is risk of the security, this is risk on market portfolio, this is correlation coefficient. So beta for this security is 0.84. Expected return on the security using CAPM equation is coming out to be 16.4%. This is fair price of the security, but actual return is less than fair price. That means this security is overpriced security. This will lie below SML. It is not worthwhile investment, right? As per CAPM, the return is 16.4%, but actually you are getting lesser return. This kind of security is known as overpriced security. It lies below SML. Overpriced securities should not be purchased. It is not a worthwhile investment. This is regarding CAPM model.